Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. This is Brian, that's Rob. This is a special edition of the Dirty Side. Rob, why is it special, buddy?
It's special because of this, so just let's listen out for this. That was a high five because we are in person, face to face.
And so cool, high-fiving like that.
We are the coolest. No one's ever done a high five like that. This has been crazy. This is absolutely crazy that we're both here and can see each other. It's actually freaking me out a little bit, so we'll have to see how the episode goes today because it's a bit weird being able to look and actually see like all of you.
I'm totally discombobulated by like trying to find my notes and trying to figure out what we're doing, and like when we're on Zoom I just toss it to you and then I don't pay a lick of attention because no one cares what you say, and now I'm actually like looking you in the eyes. This is bizarre, man.
So just to backtrack a little bit, we're actually sat in Brian's basement recording this. The big grand plan was to have already recorded this by now. We were going to record it in Nashville Airport, but some guy with a guitar and very loud music decided there was nowhere quiet we were going to be able to record there. So, yeah, that didn't work out. But
plus, we also thought it'd be super cool to be sitting at a gate, two of us talking into microphones and a computer. Nothing says cool guy like that. Excuse us, we're doing a podcast.
I mean, people would have been walking past going, look at those guys, how cool they are. I wish I was them. I mean, that's what would have happened, definitely.
Yeah. Nashville is loaded with beautiful women. Not a single one of them would have thought that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Formula One, here we go, Formula One. All right, so this week, I'm going to do the introduction for the first time ever.
Well, we're in person, so let's just mess the whole thing up. In fact, I should have done the hey now, but anyway, let's go.
You're welcome to try. And for everyone's benefit, the Hey Now is not Howard Stern's Hey Now. It is from the Gary Shandling show, the Larry Sanders show.
No, it's the Dirty Side Hey Now by Brian Sapp.
Okay. So today, we're going to do a little bit of news and social. As we said, this is a special edition, and we told everyone this would be a little different because we were trying to do this in person as we're doing. So a little bit of news and social. Then we come to the next round of Rob versus Brian. And this round, we did 2 rounds of fake facts, where we are tied and Rob has 1 victory.
So overall, I'm winning. That's right.
That is correct. Yeah,
great.
I'm losing is what's happening there. Some pump in the corner in case anyone can hear it. No, you can't. So anyway, we're going to do the whole conversation around news and social. And then, like I said, special round number 2, we are doing a fantasy draft. It is going to be amazing. It's going to be so different than you've expected. And it's not the fantasy we're doing all together in the Dirty Side League. But you'll see what it is in a second. And then we're going to close with, obviously, the big news, the preview of the Miami Grand Prix. Super exciting, coming up this weekend. That's what they have to look forward to. I think I did a better job than you, if I'm being honest.
I mean, I've got some notes. We'll go over it afterwards about places you can tidy it up a little bit and make it better. But, I mean, it was a solid first effort at the introduction. Well done, Brian.
All right, people are done with us being in person. Let's hop into the content.
So, I'm not going to go in order on this because I'm going to take the one that I think we need to fess up to because someone mentioned it on social, I'm pretty sure, is that we may have forgot to mention that Alonso's car blew up last week. We were so kind of into every other aspect of the race that we listened back to it and somebody said, you do know that Fernando's car like lost a side pod and like blew up in the middle of the race. I'm like, yeah, it did. So there you go. We've always said we're not perfect and we're just 2 dudes drinking beer on a stool, and we missed Alonso's car blowing up. So.
2 dudes drinking beer on 2 stools.
2 stools, yeah. We're not on the same stool. Yeah, we're
so
really not.
We didn't miss it, per se. I actually didn't bring it up on purpose, because I know I'm
Such
serious.
a liar.
Nope, dead serious. Who hit Fernando Alonso that caused him to have that side pod open a little, and then he kept driving, and just the force of driving an F1 car ripped it off? Who hit him? And was it your best friend? It was you have a poster, be honest. You have a poster that you carry to your hotel rooms. And it's Mick Schumacher.
Yeah.
And you roll it up onto the wall, and you're like, Mick, this is your race, baby. This is your race. He's been in your fantasy lineup like 3 times. Has he given you more than a point?
He's been in my fantasy lineup forever.
Yeah. Any points?
Yes.
How many? 1 hand?
Multiple points.
1 hand, where 1 hand is a fingers of points, yes?
Just multiple points.
But
that's
you
all
keep
we need
him
to
in
say. It's more than 1 point. Because I can't swap him out because even if I sell him, I can't buy anybody else.
Yeah. So, yes, Fernando's car exploded. Side pod went everywhere. It was a great onboard if you guys were watching at that point. Lewis was trying to pass him, and as he went by, just the side pod exploded. Just the wind and the force took it apart. But yes, great point.
And then we had Inspector Seb was at it again. I love the way that these little bits of like footage creep out like after the race. It was probably about Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, midweek, that I saw some stuff on Instagram, and it's even the F1 official site, I think, that are even putting it out there, because they'll say Inspector Seb's at it again, and he's creeping around the back of
literally bending down onto his knees, looking at the back of the diffusers and the back of the Ferrari.
I mean, I guess he's allowed to, and he's having a good look. And he didn't touch it. He did not touch it.
He learned from Max. He's like, I'm not going to touch. I love Inspector Seb. And you know what? I got to say, I was never a huge Seb fan. From Red Bull to Ferrari, he just wasn't for me. I didn't hate him. He just wasn't my guy.
Yeah.
I like him more now. That he's driving this trash can of an Aston Martin. Sorry, that was a joke, Aston Martin fans. It's the best looking trash can I've ever seen. But I like him more now. I like the guy he's kind of become. So,
yeah, I mean, I can't remember when it was. I'll go one step further. I hated him at Red Bull.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether I
just 21. So
I don't know whether I just went along with the media's perception, kind of like putting this persona on him that like he's just this evil guy that's in the best car, so you must hate him. And then he did some interview. I think it was on Sky Sports, and it was like him away from the track, and he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Just a really genuine, nice guy that was like, I can't hate this guy anymore.
Yeah.
And I think since he's not been in the limelight anymore and he's not been kind of like at the leading car, I think that natural personality has been able to come back through again. Or he's just maturing with age.
Yeah, whatever.
Or both.
Either way. I wanted to make a quick note here as a shout out to two listeners who reached out over social this week. And in particular, I wanted to say something. So first off to Garth in Ohio, who listens to us on the treadmill Monday mornings. And we had told you guys we'd be a day late, 26 or so hours late dropping this thing. So Garth, I hope on Tuesday you get a chance on the treadmill to listen to us. We appreciate your support to the man known as G Money. And then to our Aussie friend Mark, I don't know if you caught my multi-21 there. That was also for you. But so I think it was you. I could be wrong. But based on your tweet, I think I'm right. You bought a mug and a couple shirts from the Dirty Side store. And just for everyone's benefit, I'm currently wearing the Race the Rainbow tire shirt from the www.dirtysideofthetrack.com store. We'll get a tweet out shortly where you can see it when Rob and I are together at the bar later. But the mug that was purchased will only have one label on the wrong side. I will fix that. That is a collector's mug. Save that. That'll be worth something one day.
Anybody wants to laugh, and maybe it isn't Brian's fault, but I don't care because I'm just going to bust his chops and say it is anyway. But he's uploaded a single image of the Dirty Side logo, put it on a mug. It's all great. Now, when Redbubble put the display models out, they kind of have that stock image that they superimpose your logo over. They were fully expecting that normal people would put two images on, one for both sides of the mug. Brian's uploaded one. It's gone on the opposite side of the handle, which is a very unconventional mug, but it also means that on the store, all you see is a black mug. There is literally no logo because they've done a profile shot where the logo isn't. So hold on to it, Mark. Once we really make it big, that is going to be a collector's item.
I don't drink coffee. I don't understand how mugs work. I don't know. Speaking of Australia, another thing we really didn't cover from last week's race in Imola is it came out on the team radio as the race closed that Daniel Ricciardo had a problem with his diffuser. So when Valtteri ran into the back of him during that whole melee on the second corner, it broke his diffuser. So in addition to that whole mess, it was kind of crazy. And I got sort of out of order of our notes, but I really want to hit one more Ricciardo thing. Great video that I sent out earlier in the week. He was on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. And it was a great interview, but Trevor Noah talks to him about going to apologize to Carlos. And Daniel Ricciardo looks straight into the camera and goes, I hated every minute of it. And Trevor Noah's like, what? And he goes, yeah, as a competitor, I hated going and admitting I made a mistake. I hated going to have to do that. But as a man who's matured, I know I made a mistake. And I wanted to, because Carlos worked hard for that race, and it was unfair of the way it all happened. He goes, I didn't do it on purpose, obviously. But now we kind of buried it and we moved on. So it was funny because at first you go, I hated doing it. And you're like, whoa. And then you realize the hate wasn't.
Well, it was kind of like if there's anything that's kind of embodies the Jekyll and Hyde nature of two different forces, right? You've got the the competitive racer that just never wants to admit defeat, hated every second of the apology. But on the other side of the coin is the gentleman that knew he needed to do it. So no, I thought it was a good interview. They did the shoey as well, right?
They did a shoey.
They did a shoey, and actually, a lot of sports folk have superstitions. I honestly believe his superstition is he only does a shoey when he wins. Because if you noticed in the interview, he was a little bit uncomfortable when he poured the champagne into the shoey and he said, "Let's do this." He picks it up and
he poured it into a shoe.
He hesitated.
The drink is the shoey. It's a shoe.
So, well, whatever.
Yeah.
He hesitated and he was like, "Well, I really only do this when I win." And then I think he said, "Well, you're winning by being on this show." And he kind of laughed. He went, okay then. It was like a real nervous laugh. And he lifted it up and did the shoey. And I'm like, ooh, you actually honestly believe now you just cursed yourself.
Genuine insights. I like this. It is actually fascinating, not that I'm a shoey expert, but at Monza, when McLaren finished 1-2 last year and Daniel was first and Lando was behind him going, Can I pass? And they said, hold position. But they got on the podium and they all did shoey, Zach and Lando and Daniel. But if you go back, Daniel also had a win fairly recently where he got Lewis to drink a shoey with him. Now, I can't remember if that was a win or a podium. That may be homework for me. But the reason I think it's important is I may own a T-shirt of Daniel and Lewis drinking shoeys up on the podium together. And now I can see it in my... Anyway, so that's important. But the other thing is, if this were a normal episode, this is where I'd play the clip of Daniel talking about Martin Brundle wanting a shoey of his own. And he goes, he was just frothing for it.
Don't worry, we'll go back in and we'll edit the clip over that really bad impression. So
that was brilliant.
Maybe we won't. So looking down, what else happened this week? They wanted to do more sprint races for 2023, and I think the teams have unanimously agreed to increase the number of sprint races to 6, and then the FIA kind of put it on hold and said that it's not money related. We just got to look into some aspects,
right.
But it's totally money related.
100% money related. It's not a non-profit organization.
Yeah, exactly. So I think after last week, I'm interested in seeing a few more sprints. Actually, I think they're going to keep tinkering with the format, and I think they'll get there. Some folk were like the qualifying led to, or maybe the rain impacted qualifying led to an upset sprint qualifying grid, which actually led to a great sprint. But then I think it was Fernando came out and said the problem is then natural order kind of worked its way out in the sprint. So then by the time the race qualifying came, we're back to best cars at the front. So unless Formula One goes down the route of, I know in the UK we've got for the touring cars, they do weight handicap for like the winner has to have extra weight for the following race. They do it in reverse order down the grid.
This was my whole thing we just talked about today in Tennessee about the guy I raced at K1 with the carts and I wanted him to put extra weight in because I'm fatter than he is.
Well, exactly. So you wanted to implement the rule that is in touring cars in the UK.
I knew that.
And I don't know that that's the right answer for Formula One, but it is more fun, and everyone admits it. Every time the weather kicks in and we get one of those upside down grids, it's just more fun.
Is.
But
as long as it's not Spa, as long as it's not a total monsoon, anything short of that is brilliant. Even I would say Russia last year, for maybe new listeners, if you haven't seen the Russian Grand Prix from last year, watch the last 8 laps. It is just a tremendous weather impact that made me sad.
And then as you're sitting here in your tyre T-shirt that I lovingly designed for you, did it catch your eye this week about the qualifying format being put forward for 2023 with all the tyre compounds?
I saw this in the notes. I didn't see this, so please tell me about it.
So they're maybe in kind of reaction to some of the kickback this year, but with the tyre change, that you don't have to use that compound in, was it Q3? If you make it through, you used to have to start
Q2 to get into Q3.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yep.
Now they're saying that they want to use all 3 tyre compounds have to be used in qualifying from 2023. So they're saying hard in Q1, medium in Q2, and soft in Q3.
What?
Well, you're the tyre nerd of the dirty side, so I just wanted to throw it over to you. What do you make of that? Riddle me this, Brian.
I think it's ridiculous.
Why?
So forcing tyre compound usage, and this is off the top of my head, I've not prepared for this conversation. Forcing tyre compound usage at different points of qualifying will disadvantage cars because not every car uses the tires the same. Some cars are better on medium, some cars are better on hards. We're going to see different times of day, the track being rubbered in differently. We're going to see temperature changes. The tires will react differently. I loved the fact that strategy came into play in Q2 with the cars that thought they'd make it through trying to get to their race tire. And I love the fact that you'd use the same tire. So if you flat spotted it, which Max did a couple years ago, if something happened, there was real jeopardy to the start of your race. Now, because they've made a farce, and everyone who's listened knows I don't like the idea of free tire choice, but they made a farce of it. So everyone just races on the red stripe soft tires throughout qualifying because that's the fastest tire, but it's apparently been burning up real fast. In the race, I think we can count on one or two hands the number of people who have purposely used a red tire after 4 races. We joked, like Albon went out 1 lap, and that was the only soft tire we saw in Australia. 1 lap. There were people coming out of the grandstands, and he's doing his pit stop at the last minute, and they're like, oh, might as well use the softs. Like, what? So I'm not a big fan of mandating particular tires and taking the strategy out of the team's hands. I'd love to see them kind of allow the teams to strategize, but to have some, something at stake, some peril, some penalty, so that there are choices that have to be made. This is just telling them, everybody do this, everybody do that.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan.
And I don't know if they're thinking that I'm not a tyre nerd, you are the resident tyre nerd here, but are they kind of trying to think that by not allowing everyone to use the softs early on, are softs, because they're the fastest, going to automatically promote the fastest teams to go faster, and by making everyone run on the hards to start with, somehow that equalizes the field? I don't buy that, because I think if you're a good car, you're a good car. Yes, sometimes some cars will get a little bit better run on the hards, but that's not in a quali format. That's like some cars can make the hards work well for 30 laps, right?
Right, exactly.
Which you're not going to get in a qualifying format. So I don't get this, what they're trying to do. It's almost like they're admitting, we screwed up this year with the tyre rule.
Yeah.
We want to throw some curveball in there to try to equalize it, and this is all we've got right now.
So, 2 things. One, the analog I would use that is in my mind is going to like a 4x100 sprint relay. And you say everyone who starts the race has to be in high heels. This is what this is. This is their shoes. The second runners have to be in, wingtips. And then you're allowed to use sneakers at the end. But why? Let them choose what's fastest and then see what happens. Or if you have one rule that says the second person has to run their next race in the same shoe. Makes more sense to me. But
yeah, I agree.
If I might for a second, while we're talking about sort of the idea of tires and things that are a little different, I watched the C-Squared Ferrari Challenge on the Pasta. So if you haven't watched it, it's not the greatest, but Charles and Carlos sitting in trying to name pastas. But while they're doing it to make it interesting, this was in the lead up to Imola. It dropped right after Imola. So they asked questions. And tire choice, which we just talked about, they said, what's something you'd like to bring to F1 that doesn't exist today? And Charles Leclerc said, I'd like to bring back refueling.
Yeah.
That was fascinating. That was, to me, so for folks who may be new, refueling was taken out years ago because, quite honestly, it was dangerous. And people were catching fire in the pits, driving away with hoses attached many times over for some. And so they said to make it safer, we'll have everyone load enough fuel for the race. And occasionally teams don't put enough in, or they finish without enough, and there's a penalty there. Sebastian Vettel, Baku, last year lost his position because he couldn't give a fuel sample.
Yeah.
So Charles thought it would add more strategy to the race.
I agree.
I do too.
I think weight plays such a big it influences pace so much, how much fuel you have to carry, that if you want to go for one of those kind of, we're going to do a short stint on super softs and we're going to be as fast as we can for the first 10, I also want to make sure I've got basically 10.1 laps of fuel in there.
Exactly.
So if they can do it in a way that, I don't want to get in trouble here and say that Formula One overreacted, but we know what happens whenever there's anything like this that's some kind of safety aspect. Right. Everyone goes, "Oh, we can't do that anymore." Now, yes, there were some people catching
Max's
fire,
dad,
and that looks
was in a car that was in flames.
Absolutely right. So it's terrible what's happened, but for the number of, if you kind of looked at a percentage level, the number of pit stops that have ever been versus the ones that caught fire, if they must be able to just tweak the safety of that and bring back refueling in a safe way. I'd love to see it come back, because I do think it brings back. I thought it always allowed the smaller teams to play with something a bit more and just say, you know what, we're going to give this a run and we're going to do something stupid and we're going to do, it's a 72 lap race, we're going to do 72 pit stops and put 1 lap of fuel in each time. But
as much as I hate agreeing with you, the reason I brought this up when I saw that was I thought it was fascinating, and I just like the strategic aspects. Agree with you. Safety wise, I got to figure it out, but I thought Charles having that perspective was kind of neat. Sorry.
No, that's cool. So just one thing, just to kind of not bring the atmosphere down, but we had the anniversary of Ayrton Senna's death at Imola, went by this week. And what that launched me into was, and I held back, I didn't keyboard warrior it and go start responding to all these people, but the subject of GOAT comes up, greatest of all time. And it's a bit of a pointless debate in one way, because it's almost it is physically impossible to compare people from different generations and say, well, this person was the greatest of all time. And especially being as we don't know what's going to happen, tomorrow we could have a new person who's the greatest. So it's almost better to say that they were the greatest of their time, but the acronym doesn't work as well. Nobody wants to call somebody the GOT. But having said that, so I'm passionate about football, soccer. There's many debates whether it's Messi, Ronaldo, is it Pele? There's been many players down the year, and you can't compare it because the game changes so much over the years, and it's just a pointless debate, and you could never prove it. Yes, it gets people having banter, and it's good to have a beer and decide who your favourite is, but I'm going to then argue with myself instantly. Senna, I feel, is one of the only exceptions to that rule that I think if you lifted Senna now into current equipment, I think he would kick the ass of almost every driver that's out there right now. So I'm actually going to say that I think, despite the fact that I hate the term GOAT, and I think it gets thrown around way too often, and it's almost impossible to actually prove, something about growing up watching him makes me think that he could drive the wheels off anything. And I think if you dropped him into, say, the Ferrari or the Red Bull right now, and maybe even not as good as that, I think his driving style and his natural raw ability would put him right at the top of the pack right now. Discuss.
So, fascinating. As all of our listeners formulate their opinions, I'll say I think the idea of a GOAT is inherently imperfect. The idea of it. Not there being one, but the way it's thought of. So to think it should be greatest of our time as opposed to greatest of all time, I think doesn't acknowledge that it is already flawed. And so I think greatest of all time is exactly that. It's up for debate. It is supposed to be cross-generational. It's supposed to be a discussion that people argue about at bar stools. So I actually have no problem with the idea of the GOAT. I already know it's a flawed perspective. And the best GOAT discussions are what you just did. You say, what would happen if they were in modern times? Because that's what everyone thinks about. They don't go backwards. Very rarely do you hear someone say, what would happen if LeBron played 30 years ago?
Or what if Lewis was driving Jim Clark's car
exactly,
back in the 50s?
Exactly. So exactly right. Because I actually think, and this is for those NBA fans, I think LeBron would be even better if you went back in time, because he's got the body to play physical basketball, but he's got the tools to play like Jordan. So I think when you look at, I'd love to see Jim Clark in a today's car. I think he'd drive the wheels off it. I agree with Senna. I think Niki Lauda would be there. Michael Schumacher. I think all these guys, you drop those four guys off the top of my head right away. Senna, Schumacher, Lauda, Clark. And there are many more, trust me, many, many more. But if you drop those four right now into a Ferrari, give them a couple days in the simulator and out on the course, I actually think, like you said, I think they'd be challenging. But I'm okay with GOAT because I acknowledge it's flawed, and I recognize it needs to be generational. I get what annoys the crap out of me, and I almost use a bad word, is when people anoint someone the GOAT too quickly.
That's where I was going. It's when they throw it around too quickly. Yeah. Somebody has like
clickbait situations.
You've got people at the moment like saying Max. GOAT.
Right, come on.
I'm like, Max is without doubt highly exceptional, talented driver.
Oh, he's amazing.
Who has won a drivers' championship, whether people want to admit it or not. It wasn't his fault how it happened, and he deserved it based on the number of wins that he had. and he's a phenomenal driver. But you can't say GOAT after one championship.
Cannot.
You can say on the path to GOATness.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And that's, people do that, like baseball is the best example, where people say, they're going to be a Hall of Famer. Well, the Hall of Fame is relatively exclusive, and not everyone's going to make it who has potential to make it. Oh, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Slow down. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Pretty Good. And so, it's one of those things where I think it's overused, but I like the discussion it brings. I actually sort of agreed with your point, which I begrudgingly would acknowledge. But yes, we lost Ayrton this week, so thinking about Senna. The other thing I would say when you talk about greatness is, I don't know if everyone's seen on the Formula One site, I wanted to highlight the fact that they do power rankings after every race. It's a 5-judge panel that assesses everyone's drive that week out of 10.
Yeah, because I think you pointed out, didn't Albon make it to number 2 last
in Australia?
Week?
After Australia, he was second. And so I have been following this. I don't know who the 5 judges are because it's a debate topic, not a research topic for me. But after 4 races, they've averaged each of the 4 races and the 5 judges for each race. And the top 10 drivers, according to the Formula One power rankings, are number 1, Max Verstappen, 9.1 out of 10. I mean, I can't disagree, especially because Charles is right behind him at 8.8. So the top 2 are very clear, and they flip-flopped throughout the season. This is the first time Max has been first. Charles had been first prior, but that's clear. However, here's where I find it gets a little more interesting. You have George, Lando, and K-Mag. K-Mag. Fifth in a Haas. K-Mag. And this is about how they drive, right? So I love George 3. We had the stat the other day, 4 top 5s.
Yep.
The consistency, SAP stats. And so anyway, it's amazing to see. And then Lando, who for the first 2 races was driving a laundry basket and is now turning it around. Maybe they were sandbagging. I bought the hype that they didn't have all the fixes in, and now they keep getting better. So I'm probably wrong. But just awesome to see Lando 4th, K-Mag 5. But then there's a 3-way tie for 6th. And I love this tie because I like all of these drivers very much. So Valtteri, Sergio, and Albon. I mean, I have a soft spot for Albano and everything he's kind of gone through to get into F1, get back into F1. I love his story when on Net Drive to Survive. I love his family and how much he is sort of a family guy and what he did to help raise his sisters. I mean, who doesn't like Alex Albon? So, and then Checo, I'm a big Checo fan.
Checo's Checo.
He's amazing. He's just the best. And he can drive anything and save tires or push pace. He can defend. And then Valtteri, who had the luck of a number 2 at Mercedes at the end, but has the talent of a number 1. I love his role at Alpha. I love what he's doing. I love all the points he's gotten. Amazing.
And one thing on that, there's a whole bunch of memes going around at the moment of it's the one of Valtteri looking over his shoulder at the camera
back of the screen.
Yeah. And there's some hilarious ones that are out there, and it got me thinking. I was looking at things. I was like, do you know what? For as much as everyone's superimposing this Valtteri looking at other folk and saying, ha ha ha, look at Mercedes now that I've left.
Yeah.
Actually, I respect Valtteri comes across as a really, really good guy who doesn't bear any grudge to what happened to Mercedes. It just looks like he kind of admits that, well, I got to drive the best car. It didn't work out for me. I was number 2. And now just seems like you follow his social media and he just seems really happy where he is and doesn't seem to carry any chip on his shoulder, which I hope is an accurate assessment of the guy. You're never going to know, right? But just seems to be just happier now, and I don't know. I've never driven a Formula One car, like I've said in previous episodes, so I've got no clue. But everyone kind of knows when you're feeling happy and you're in the zone, it's just easier to perform as well, I think. Yeah. So I think what we're seeing at Alpha is a combination of the car being good, him being in a happy place, and I love the guy.
I agree. And then the last 2, and the reason I'll just hit the 10th is Fernando. And we've seen some really stellar performances from Fernando, where his car got caught in 4th gear in a quali and his side pod blew up, and But number 9 is the reason I wanted to just close this before we hit one or two more quick things. Lewis Hamilton.
How does he get number 9 on this list?
Is that too high for you? Or
yeah.
No.
Well, look, he's struggling with the car.
Who would you put above Lewis who we haven't read off? Please don't tell me Hulkenberg.
Mick Schumacher. No.
Please don't tell me Mick.
I don't know.
Latifi?
But it feels like surely
Stroll?
Surely other drivers.
Do you want me to just name the rest? I mean, Danny Rick?
Well, yeah, I was going to say Danny Rick, right? But Lewis is in a Mercedes
which is not last year's Mercedes.
No, but who's number 3 on this list?
George Russell.
In a
Mercedes.
Right, so George is able to get a Mercedes to a level
I'm
that
not
gets
comparing
him into
Lewis to George.
No, but they're in the same machinery, right? So
yeah.
George can get 3rd on this list by dragging a substandard Mercedes around a track to get him up to number 3 on this list.
Yeah.
Lewis is way underperforming, and I believe he is going to get the performance out of that when they bring a couple of upgrades. But other people seem to be wrestling hunks of junk that are even worse than the Mercedes and getting higher positions. I don't know. I
mean, I look at the list.
I like Lewis. I'm a Lewis fan, but I just don't understand how anyone's rating him at the moment because he's just kind of...
You're crazy. The point of my point was Valtteri is 6th, tied for 6th, and Lewis is 9th. So that was my point. His your former teammates, jilted lovers. If anyone could get Valtteri for us on the pod, let us know. That would be brilliant. So, and just a couple last things to hit so we can move on. I obviously want to spread the love on social media around. Sky Sports did a George Russell, what do you know about Britain quiz, just like they had done with Daniel Ricciardo. They'd done that about Australia, and George did not do fantastic, if I'm being honest, but he did better than Danny Rick. And the interviewer even acknowledged that, and he said you won't have to apologize like Danny Rick had to do to all of Australia. But Rob, I have a question for you.
Go on.
Where were you born?
Stratford, Shakespeare's home.
Oh yeah, so you're from Connecticut. I assumed that's why you had this accent, but okay, that's the reason. From 1066 to 1362.
Yeah.
What was the official language of England?
Ye olde English.
Is that the final answer?
It's probably French or Norwegian or something, but not English.
It's clearly not English, or else I wouldn't ask the question.
Because we've got such a smattering of everybody invaded us. We had Vikings coming over, we had the French coming over, so it actually will probably depend which region of the country you even ask that question in. So I'll go French.
French is correct. This is where I would put in the Marv Albert. Yes! The official language of England after the Norman conquest of 1066 by William the Conqueror of France until 1362 when it was replaced by English. So
we did the Bayeux Tapestry at school, you know.
French was used mainly by nobility, and English was generally spoken by the lower classes. I'll let people think of that as they want, but that was one of the questions, and George Russell nailed it. And my last one that I want to hit is for sure that Williams launched their head-to-head challenge. It was a pizza-making challenge. It was fun to watch. Alex and Nikki seemed to really have fun, like, working on this. However, huge red flag, or I guess black and white flags, for Nikki because he wanted to put Nutella on pizza. Yeah.
That doesn't work.
They did that a year or two ago. Him and George did one of these, and they did a Nutella pizza because I watch everything that comes out, so I remember.
Or Nutella, being as it should start with the word nut, being as it's made out of nuts, right?
Here in the good old U.S. of A., we call it Nutella.
Do you really?
Hazelnuts.
I was like, why would you do that? It's hazelnuts. It's obviously Nutella. I don't get why you would then turn it into Nutella. They try to turn it into
the whole rest of this 300 million person country is calling it Nutella. I went down to Publix and got me some Nutella.
Made out of hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Whatever.
All right. I don't have anything else.
No, neither do I. Let's keep this wagon rolling.
All right. So, as I promised, we'll do a quick explanation of what is about to happen. Rob versus Brian live. And so what it is, as I said, we did the fake facts, which was fun. And we got a lot of feedback that people actually had fun listening and learning and thinking about it. It was a lot of research. We'll bring it back at some point. But what we wanted to do today is a fantasy draft. What we want to do is draft all the drivers. So we're going to pick all of the 20 drivers. We are going to draft a team principal. We're going to draft a car, so a constructor. And then we're also going to draft 2 tracks. And here's what we're going to do with that information. It'll be cool to kind of look at your roster of drivers and see who you got, who you love, who you hate, who you got stuck with. It's like kickball. Kickball, Rob, is an American game with a rubber ball that kids roll and they kick it. And it's kind of like baseball, but a kickball. And it's smaller and it's awesome. And so what we'll do is we'll see who gets drafted first and last, and we'll have our driver rosters. We'll each have 10 drivers. At the same time, and at any point in the draft, you can draft your car, your team principal, and your tracks. Now, to be quite honest, the car is just for fun. The team principal is just for fun. But the tracks matter, because what we're going to do is we're each taking 2 tracks, and what we will do is we will then take our driver rosters and check their fantasy points from our Dirty Side Fantasy League at the 4 tracks we're measuring. And we'll see who wins. Now, if we need a tie-break 5th race, we will jointly offline before the next episode starts select a race that wasn't selected as the tie-break. But we're going to use these 4, and if we have to go to total points, we'll figure it out. Don't worry.
I think we should be able. We must be able to try to work in the team. We can get constructor points off fantasy as well, right?
Yeah.
So you said the car's just for fun, but I think we can get the constructor points in there.
Well, we'll figure it
out. And maybe when you pick the team principal, we can do the same thing. We just take the constructor points from them. Because I think everything should count on this. There's no just for fun on this, Brian. This is deadly serious.
Well,
I know I'm going to lose, but
you're not going to lose. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. We thought about this in a car in
we
the
thought
middle
about
of
this
Tennessee.
on the drive from up to Nashville Airport. Yeah, so this could be the worst idea ever.
I think it's the greatest idea I've ever heard.
So we flipped. We didn't flip a coin.
Cap.
We flipped a beer lid off my beer bottle, and I won. So I'm going to get to go
Bullshit.
first.
Flip got stuck to your thumb.
You've got the official notepad, right, to write all this down.
I do.
So what we're doing is 1 pick for me, then 2 picks for you, and then
correct.
2 picks for me.
So for anybody who does fantasy sports the way we do it here in America, it's a snake draft. But since there's only 2 of us, round 1 first pick you, round 1 second pick me, but then round 2 first pick is me. So so we'll go 2 at a time, but the first one you get just 1. And again, you can draft anybody anywhere you want.
Okay, so it's first up. It's ridiculously obvious, but I'm gonna pick the boy Charles up in the first.
Damn it! I want to reflip on that beer. It got stuck on your thumb, and it just hung there, and then it didn't flip over.
I mean,
all right. This is easy. I'm taking Max. My Dutch brother from another mother.
Okay. It's you again. You got the second. It's you. You go.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Oh, you're thinking. Okay.
I didn't realize you were going to start yelling.
I was just waiting for time to end.
Oh, there's so many ways this could go. I got to go based on consistency so far and power rankings.
Oh, sorry. I'm just dozing off.
George Russell.
George Russell, man. Back to me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking Ferrari.
God, don't do it to me. I want your team. I want your team. I don't want my team.
You could have picked Ferrari. Now back to you, right?
No, you get 2.
I'll get 2.
Come on.
So I just take Checo just to annoy you because you love him so much.
Checo, I'm gonna come across this table and beat you to death.
I'm gonna take Valtteri.
Nice pick. Very nice pick. Oh, I'm going to take a man on the rise. A young man who I find fantastic, who champions some amazing causes close to mental health and other issues. A young man who doesn't drink, but a young man who I think is on a team that's on the rise. Lando F. Norris. And with my second pick, I'm taking Checo. I got all Red Bull. What is happening here?
Yeah, so is it 2 for me now?
Yeah, this is not going the way I thought this was going to go.
I'm taking...
we should do this with listeners regularly, because this is great.
I'm my two, without
Yeah.
all the whole drama and
Excuse me.
like backstory that you want to give for each. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to say Christian Horner and K-Mag.
You're taking Spice Boy
Yep, I'm taking Spice Boy. I've got too much Ferrari in there at the moment. I need
and
to.
K-Mag?
Yeah, I'm taking K-Mag.
Man, last year if we told you a Haas would go this high, would you believe it?
Nope.
Well, I know my team principal now. Okay, so it's to me, obviously, and I'm going to take. Oh God, I can't believe I have to do this. You took Valtteri on me. I can't believe you did that. That's just rude. All right, I'm taking Lewis Hamilton.
Ooh.
All right, I'm taking Lewis Hamilton, and I am drafting Fernando Alonso.
Oh, I was going Alonso next.
That's value.
Damn you!
As we would say in fantasy football, that's a value pick. That is a great pick right there. That is top-notch value.
So I don't think anybody's taken Carlo yet.
What? Carlos Sainz?
Yeah.
You took him second.
No, I took Charles and
Carlos.
I didn't take Charles and Carlos.
Yeah, you did. You went all Ferrari.
No, I took Ferrari, as in the constructor.
What?
Oh,
He was sitting there waiting?
Waiting, yeah, and I was waiting for you to take him, and I'm sorry, but you've screwed up big time there. So I'm taking Carlo now, so I definitely do have him. And
I would have taken Carlos.
Well, you snooze, you lose, Brian.
Oh.
What have we got left here? The shoey himself, Danny Rick.
Nice pick. Nice pick. Australians are clapping upside down.
I'm trying to work out what we've actually got left
I
here.
can't believe Carlos went that low. That was a big mistake. I didn't understand. All right. Carlos, Danny Rick. With the next pick in the Fantasy Formula One Rob vs. Brian draft, I shall take Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, I thought you might.
He's just too good. They gotta fix whatever the hell's going on with the car. And then I shall take. I mean, who's gonna get any points? And you already went constructor, so it gives me my choice. I'm gonna take Esteban.
Okay, back to me, yeah?
Yeah, too.
I'm going to take Stroll and the guy I can never pronounce, Valtteri's teammate.
Joe.
Joe.
Going
Okay,
you.
there it is. Joe.
Nice pick. I like that. Well, I'm taking Seb at this point. I get one more.
Seb hadn't gone.
No.
Oh, what did I pick Stroll for?
I don't know. I wasn't going to take him until you. I'll take an Aston Martin driver, and it's not Seb. I'm like, what?
I was trying to look at your notes upside down. Your handwriting sucks.
Well, next time we'll do this in a better fashion. I'm going to take Yuki as well. I like my team. The Carlos thing aside, I like my team.
What are we down to now? So is it how many have we even got left?
I don't know.
I make it that we've got.
You should just draft Mick.
Both Williams drivers,
Yeah.
and we got Schumacher.
Yeah.
Who else? Ocon? Is Ocon gone? There should be 4 left, right?
Yeah, I just say there's 2 left. They're both yours because I haven't drafted a team or a.
But neither of us have taken. We got Schumacher, Albon, and Latifi left, right?
That's correct.
They can't both be mine. There's 3 people.
So draft 2 of them.
Schumacher and Albon.
So you got Mick and Alex. That means I get Nicky, Latifi.
I'm sure we've screwed this up.
That's
If we've got 10 drivers each, that's cool. So and then you need a
now,
constructor,
but
right?
so yeah, it's my next pick. I'm actually gonna pick a track. So it has to be a track that hasn't been done yet, like
Yes.
raced at this year.
Yep.
And I'm picking Spa just because I love it. It is probably my favorite track. So Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, I'm gonna go rogue here, and I'm gonna say, despite the fact that it's a complete unknown, we've got no clue, but at least it gives some extra spice to next week. I'm taking Miami.
Wow! Look at you! Wow! Didn't see that coming. All right, one more pick. You got.
It kind of puts us under pressure to sort out the scoring for this by next week. But
it does. So you get one more track and then you're done, right?
yeah, but is it your pick next?
I
You've
think
got
it's
a
yours.
constructor and a track, and I've just
How
got
am
a
I
track,
so far
right?
behind?
I don't know.
I don't
what
know.
you've
Team
done
principal? I don't know either. You have one more pick.
Okay.
You have another track, right?
We'll keep it patriotic, and I'm going to go for Silverstone.
All right.
So you've got a track and a principal as your final two, which I guess it's 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So it works.
It doesn't. All right. So a track and a team principal. Do I have a car? I don't have a car. Well, I'll take Red Bull. I'm taking Red Bull, and I'm taking as my team principal Toto. Wait, no, time out. I didn't take my finger off the piece.
Okay.
So we're saying you get constructor points for principals?
Yeah, well, I mean, unless you want to try and make something up.
Well, I'm taking
just having them just for fun
Mattia
is...
Binotto.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Mattia.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe they get half points because they're only like one of the drivers.
Yeah.
We'll sort it out.
But I only have one track, and I have two... This is...
I love the fact that we didn't properly think this through before we did it, and you're
something weird has occured. Did I draft too many drivers? I think that's what it is. I'll have to give you one driver. You get Nicky Latifi.
Oh, thanks.
Well, why do I get to do?
Can I send him back?
So I'll draft one more track, and then we will fix this in post.
We should never do this live ever again. We should do it in our own houses on Zoom, and we should work this stuff through before.
Well, if you went Silverstone or Silverstone,
yeah,
I'm going to do Circuit of the Americas.
There we are then.
Patriotic, Coda, and I have 2 extra picks somehow. So we will look at this and figure out. You know what? I think because I waited longer, I got more drivers. So you're at a deficit. We should have capped me at 10 drivers. I think I drafted 12. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to quickly abort this experiment and get over to a Miami.
Let's talk
preview.
about Miami.
So, where do we start? Do we start on the serious stuff, or do we get all the glamour and glitz?
Let's close with the goofballs. So, first year of the Miami Grand Prix happening this weekend on Sunday, 2:30 Central Time. For those in the U.S., for everyone else, adjust. It is fascinating. For those of us who've been watching this in the States for a while as they've looked at tracks, they actually did 36 different layouts in Miami Gardens, trying to find what they're going to do for the track. The reason that's fascinating to me is Miami Gardens, where this is by the Hard Rock Stadium, was not actually the place they wanted to have it. They wanted it to be downtown Miami, and that was vetoed. So in America, for those who aren't from America, we believe in over-litigation about everything. So they tried to put it in downtown Miami, and that didn't work because people sued, and they got it out of there. And then they wanted it in Miami Gardens, and people sued because they didn't want it there. And then they said, fine, I'll just put it on private property at the Hard Rock Stadium. And then people sued because it was going to be too loud for 3 days a year. And then they agreed to make some massive investment in the community to offset 3 days of noise and some people being there. However, the place hosts Super Bowls, the Dolphins, like all kinds of stuff. So noise and people is pretty common there. So anyway, they did 36 different layouts to check this out. 75 different layouts total. It's a 19-turn track. I think it looks pretty good. There are going to be 2 or 3, I think 3 DRS zones. They're going to have one at a left-hander at turn 11. They're going to have a turn 17 will have a DRS zone. And then they'll have one, they think, I haven't seen it for sure yet, on the short pit straight. It's a relatively short pit straight. And for those, it's a counterclockwise track. Even though it has a big bend around the stadium, if you straighten it out, it is anti-clockwise, as our friends over the pond would say. So,
and there's a couple of good-looking braking zones on it as well as we look at the map for it. So, as much, we'll get to the ridicule in a second. As much as the ridicule the track is getting, I'm hopeful it's going to deliver some decent racing, because if it does that, maybe the outrage that's going along, the glamour and glitz that how dare Miami want to put on a show? I mean, how dare they? I mean, I was talking to you in the car earlier on, Brian. The thing that is really annoying me at the moment is just the way that social media is allowed to be completely hypocritical. So at the beginning of the week, when they're putting up the fake marina, and they got these boats that have been salvaged apparently from hurricanes or whatever, and they've put them in these fake spots, and everyone's like, oh, great. So now they're going to fill that with water and make a fake marina because they want to be Monaco. So they're going to fill it with water. It's bound to get a leak. And then what happens if that water gets out onto the track? Typical Americans, they're not thinking anything through. They just want the show. And then it transpires later this week that there was never any intention of putting any water in there, and they've put this fake kind of whatever it is, plastic. I don't know what it is, but it's just like this thing that they put around the boats to give the perception of water. And what happens? Oh, typical Americans can't even put real water in there, and now they're just putting this fake water. And I'm like, well, okay, so you didn't like the idea of water, and now it's not water. You don't like the idea of not water. It's just like they were just going to beat up on this. I just feel that Miami's becoming the bullseye for just like whatever they do, unless they basically said there will just be nothing but silence before the race starts, and then there will be the race. And as soon as the race finishes, there will be nothing but silence after that. Any attempt at any kind of show to wrap around it is typical Americans.
Yeah. But I'm just waiting to see, like you said, I hope it delivers on track. There's one really good long straight from turn 16 to 17, which goes next to Florida's Turnpike. And I know this because I explored the track a bit before it was made. And the straight goes right along this little canal, kind of like a drainage canal on the side. So don't know if it'll look glamorous. That part of it is a drainage canal next to this long straight. But then they kind of come up to the Miami Dolphins training stadium, turn around, go past the Hard Rock Stadium, circle around it. Then they kind of come by the tennis courts. They have this like gondola ride that's going to go over the track. The only downer I'd say as an American, I'm so excited about the Miami GP. I'm excited about the concerts. They're going to have concerts every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Post Malone headlining the Saturday. Just going to be amazing. The Chainsmokers, just a ton of different people. A lot of DJs, especially sort of a Latin flavor. Just bang on. Really exciting. But all that said, I don't like the fact that there's not a lot of cheap tickets.
Yeah.
There's only a couple or three public access, like GA General Admission grandstands, and the tickets are outrageously expensive. And then you've got the marina and the beach club and the this and the that, and it looks like it's going to be an epic party as long as you have really deep pockets to make it happen.
Yeah, that's the only bit I don't like. It is when you follow on the back of Imola, where it just looks like it costs like about $10 to get in, and everyone.
I'm sure it doesn't.
I know it doesn't, but it's almost the polar opposite. But having said that, again, it's not an accusation that you can solely throw at the US. I imagine the Middle East tracks are expensive to get into. Monaco's not exactly kind of like buy one get one free to get in there. So, but it is a shame. It is a shame because they're trying to grow the sport over here. They're trying to put Miami on the map, and what would have been great would be make it like an affordable experience to get a whole bunch of new fans involved. And now it just looks like, if you've got some trust fund, then you can.
Then you got a 3-day concert at an F1 track. Have a good time. We're just looking forward to the race. The good news is next week service resumes back on normal schedule. Pod will be out Sunday night. It is a little later in the day for us here, so the pod will be maybe an hour or two later than usual. And just as we get ready to sign off, since this is our last note until late Sunday night, to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day next Sunday. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. I hope you get a chance to watch the race, and to everyone who celebrates their mothers, have them watch the race with you.
Yeah, I'm sure all the mothers have, when they were drawing up their wish lists of what they want to do on Mother's Day, was to sit down and watch the Miami.
Wait, are you telling me my wife doesn't want to watch the GP with me?
I don't.
Am I off target on this one? It'd be the first time that I got something wrong. So anyhow, just wanted to say thanks for everyone for tuning in to our live in-person edition. I had a blast. I hope you did too. Thanks for being a Dirty Sider. We love you guys. Rob, sign us off, man.
I think we should just sign off with another high five to close the show. We have to.
We are so old.
I know we're so old and we're so uncool, but the fact that we're sat opposite each other on what are we recording this on? A Miss Pac-Man
arcade video game table.
I was worried actually. At one point when we were talking, I was like pressing the buttons here, and I've got the start game button in front of me, and I thought like halfway through the show it's going to like come to life. But anyway, so I think one final one, and we'll say. See you next week, and the last sound that we're going to play out before the guitar introduction is our goodbye high five.